After seeing Ned Liberace's reviews or advertisements for these Fishman banjo pickups, and you know, it's one that's been around a long time. They used to make a Jones. I think Earl Scruggs used it. It was not active. It was a passive pickup. This pickup has a preamp in it of some sort. You hook a 9-volt battery to it. I got the thing in the mail yesterday and hooked it up, and I'm just not very pleased with it. It's got a kind of a distorted tone. When you see him playing, it sounds great. It sounds like a regular banjo, what I was trying to get, normal banjo sound. And I'm sure he's going through a computer, plugged straight into his interface and tweaking his tone to make it sound perfect. But when you get this thing, I was wanting to use it in a live application with some form of, I was just playing like in the country group, using my regular guitar amp. I don't want to haul around 2 or 3 amps. I want to haul around 1 amp and have a banjo that I can play a few songs on. So everybody always wants to hear that. And get a decent tone and be able to get some volume out of it when playing with other electric instruments. So anyway, I got this Fender Deluxe over here. I mean, it's a great amp. It's got a great sound. So I figured it should sound good enough, you know. So I hooked this Fishman up, following as their directions, you know, right off the bat. I'm sending it back. I ordered it from Musician's Friend, and right off the bat, if you're familiar with the pickup design, I'll show it to you here in a minute, but it's kind of at a 90-degree angle on a bracket. And the way it works is you're supposed to attach it to the coordinator rods on that bracket, and the pickup is supposed to sit exactly parallel to the head, and you're supposed to, it comes with a little metal shim with some adhesive on the back that you stick to the head. The instructions tell you to put it about a 1/2 inch from the middle post of your bridge. And I done it exactly like that. They tell you to set the thickness of it. I think it was a 1/16 of an inch. Maybe wrong, but about 2 business cards about all. They tell you can use the cardboard on the box to get that measurement. Just put it between the pickup and the shim. So I did all that exactly the way they described it. And but like I was saying, right off the bat, I noticed that the pickup itself, it's got some sort of melted stuff in it that holds it all together, and the bracket goes into the back of this little square pickup. Well, it was bent like this, or just not necessarily bent, but like it was like a manufacturing defect when it was made, when that material was poured into it that holds the bracket in the pickup. It was poured with the pickup at an angle. The pickup cost $229 from Musician's Friend, and with shipping it was 240 something bucks, which I thought was pretty exorbitant considering the fact that I could get a set of really good Fender pickups for a Telecaster for like 150 bucks, you know, 2 pickups. And this pickup, it's nothing special, man. It's a stacked humbucker. It's small. The output is something like 3K ohms, 3,000 ohms, which is really low considering even a cheap Telecaster pickup is around 6,000 ohms output, 5,000 minimum. I mean, you're talking garbage store guitar with 5,000 ohms. A typical Telecaster setup will have 6,500 ohms, and 7 around on the bridge it'll have, and the neck will be around 7. So, or vice versa, I get it screwed up. But anyway, 6,000 to 7,000 ohms output, and this thing's only got 3,000 ohms output. The output's really low, and it's got some sort of preamp circuitry built into it. Like I said, it's an active pickup. You have to hook a 9-volt battery to it. So it's really low output. It's working off of a metal shim. It's not actually working off of the strings. So it's picking up the vibration from the head of the banjo, and it's kind of slurring it all together, you know, because it's all coming through this little metal shim. It's about a 1/2 inch long and about 1/4 inch wide. So it's supposedly going to concentrate all your tone into that little thing. And I think it's just a silly design, in my opinion. I didn't really know how it worked till I bought one. And oh, I'd heard all the hype how it's the best sounding banjo pickup. And I'm just going to give you a demonstration of what it sounds like. And I'm going to show you the settings on my amp. And what I'm going to get around to is I took from an old El Cheapo Telecaster. I'm talking a $70 like glary Telecaster that I was experimenting on. I took the pickups off of it and put some Wilkinson pickups on it. Still fairly cheap pickups, but they upgraded the sound quite a bit. And I still had the old pickups, which were low output. And so I took the bridge pickup of that, and I said, well, I'm just going to give it a try after looking at some banjos online that had pickups that I could plainly see that had a clear head on them, and it had a humbucker on a cheap banjo, and they were selling for around 500 bucks for a $200 banjo with, I'm sure, a cheap humbucker pickup on it. And it was a banjo with just a wooden rim, and they had the volume knob. I think it was made by Ortega, and Dean had one called like a Backwoods. And it had a potentiometer. It had a hole drilled through the wooden rim, no tone ring, just a wooden rim banjo made in a bluegrass style with the crappy guitar tuners, the whole bit, you know, El Cheapo. 600 bucks for this thing. And it had a cheap humbucker. It may have been a decent humbucker, but I'm willing to bet it's just a El Cheapo that you could order on AliExpress for like $5. And a cheap, small, little pot potentiometer that drilled straight through the rim and had the volume knob here. They drilled another hole through the rim back here and put your output jack through that. Now, that gave me the idea, because it didn't have a metal shim. So that gave me the idea. Yeah, it's a little bit of a distance. We're talking about like a 1/2 inch from the strings to the to where your pickup will actually be sitting if you put it behind the head where it's not touching it. I don't know if it was touching or not. I was just looking at pictures, but I could tell it was behind the head because it was on a clear head, and I could see the little Remo symbol on it. So it gave me the idea, well, I should just try taking one of those cheap pickups I got laying around and just sticking it behind the head on a banjo and see how well that picks up. Because I know it's going to have a stronger output than this Fishman. And not only that, it's going to be, if it will pick up at that great of a distance, and I suspected it would, because those were. And mind you, the pickup I used is a single-coil pickup. I haven't tried a humbucker like this, which would be better output, a stronger pickup. And you could do anything. You could get an active pickup. But anyway, I used a very cheap single-coil Telecaster bridge pickup. And I just hooked a jack to it. And I just did this like 30 minutes ago. So I still haven't worked out, you know, how I'm going to go about making a bracket or something to mount the jack. I think I'm going to mount the jack directly through the flange, because I have done that on a banjo before and used a mic. It's a tight squeeze, but it can be done. And then you can just use one of those elbow 90-degree instrument cables, and it works fine. Still issue a volume knob, but mind you, the Fishman doesn't have a volume knob either. So you just plug it in. You got to adjust it on a preamp or a EQ pedal. Being it's active pickup, you're not supposed to have to use a preamp. You can just use an EQ pedal to kind of dial it in. But I found there's not much dialing in. The thing sounded like crap to me. I looked on the Banjo Hangout, read some forums about other people that experimented with placement of it to improve the tone. I tried several things. First of all, with the pickup being defective with a bend to it, you know, that made me not be able to get the proper adjustment. So I put a shim out of a couple business cards behind one side of the mounting bracket, so it kind of kicked it to an angle like this, and got the pickup to actually set level, see if that would make a difference, and still adjusted the, I was able to adjust the distance between the pickup and the shim to be the same amount that the instructions told me to do. It made no difference. It sounded pretty much exactly the same. I moved the pickup back, as I had read some people say would get a better tone, and that's the way I've got it sitting right now, where the pickup is overlapping the bridge on one side and the shim on the other side. Either way, it sounded a little better when I said it like that, which was different than what the instructions showed. But anyway, to just play this pickup through a guitar amp, even with just a simple EQ pedal, I couldn't really get a very decent banjo sound, and it had very low output. This amp is plenty loud playing with a country group, sitting on about 3 or 4 on a Telecaster with fairly low output pickups. If I turn this thing up to 11 or 12 in this house, it would blow your eardrums out with a Telecaster or a Stratocaster. With this pickup, this Fishman, I can turn this thing all the way up to like 10 or 11, and it's still not that loud. I can play. It's loud, but I can tolerate it in this living room. So anyway, I need to get on to the demonstration, but I really needed to cover all that. The pickup I just rigged up this morning, I'm going to demonstrate it on a cheaper banjo that's not got nearly as good a tone as this banjo. And you're going to see that setup is very simple to do. Right now I've got to design some form of bracket to hold it in place, but right now I've just got it wedged up against the head with a piece of foam. And it sounds way louder than this pickup. It's actually picking up the strings around the pole pieces. It's not like running all the tone together. I've got a lot more clarity between the strings with that single coil. It's something anybody can do. All you got to be able to do is solder. But you could, if you can't solder, you could even just twist the wires on it and it would probably work better than this piece of junk. I'm going to get my money back for this Fishman, I hope. I started a return. I bought it on eBay from Musician's Friend. I'll recommend doing that as a tip, because eBay has this money back guarantee. If something's defective, they will make the seller refund you. Whereas if I bought it directly from Musician's Friend, they may give me some runaround about, well, you've already soldered it or something like that. It's not in original condition. Because you have to solder that thing as well, that Fishman. So that's another thing. If you're going to hook it up, you're going to have to be able to solder anyway. And it's a pain in the butt on the little small jack that they give you. The way the pole pieces are that you got to solder to is a real tight squeeze. What I did on this cheap banjo, you can do for like, if you want to order the pickups from like AliExpress and the jacks, you can put as many pickups as you want. You can put 3, you can put a selector switch like a Stratocaster, but with just the one pickup, which is what you're getting out of this Fishman, you could get one pickup for like 10 bucks. That would be stronger output, and I think a better pickup than this so-called humbucker. Anyway, I'm getting a little more noise. The only downside is with the single coil, I'm getting a little more noise than I am from this humbucker. So probably just a cheap humbucker would be better than this. But I'll show you the demonstration. Anyway, I got this thing plugged into this Fender Deluxe. I may move out of the way and get the phone. I'll play a little bit just sitting here, and I'll just kind of step to the side and bring the phone up closer to the amp. That way you're hearing the amp more than the banjo. That's the way it sounds without the amp. So you get that. So I'm going to turn it up a little. Right now I'm on 3. You can come over here where you can see the settings on here, and I'm going to, I got it set on 3 right there. And you can back up where you can watch me a little bit. You don't got to get way back, just close enough. Virtually no sound. It sounds the same. The pickup's not even really coming through the amp on 3. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Now Now I can start hearing it. You can hear it there. Now that's set on about 5. So you can hear that. Not much. I mean, if you was playing somewhere with a group, it's still not even louder than my banjo is. You wouldn't be able to hear that. It would be just as useful as sitting there playing your banjo without a pickup. So I'm going to try to cut it up to a volume level where you would actually maybe be able to hear it playing with a group of other electric instruments. Right now I'm up to 9. Now I will give it credit. It's very low noise. I'm not really hearing any humming, maybe just a slight hum. Now you can start hearing it coming. It's adding to the banjo, but the acoustic banjo is still just about as loud as what I'm getting out of this amp. It's about like playing 2 banjos worth of volume. That's still not loud enough with drums and stuff to be heard, I don't think. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm pretty sure. It's not gonna do much. And I'm on 9 here. I've got this volume knob cut up to 9, you know. You can tell you're hearing this banjo about as much as you're hearing that amp. Still not much. It's starting to beef it up a little, but it's not going to cut through a band. I can tell you that right now. So I'm cutting this thing up. I'm on 11 now. This thing goes to 12. Now I'm going to start getting some volume now. Maybe it would cut through. Maybe. It's questionable. It's not extremely loud. Sounds a little distorted. It's not really that clear because I got my amp cut up so loud for one thing. Now if I get up and move away, you'll hear that more. And it's real ringy. I'm going to try to turn away from the phone here where you can really hear the amp. You know, I'm at 11 here. It's starting to get distorted. It's starting to sound real ringy. I will say it's not feeding back, and it's pretty much noiseless, especially at that volume. I'm not getting any hum. The single coil is obviously going to have more hum than the humbucker. So anyway, but I got my volume cranked. And if I was playing with a loud country band, there's no way that would be loud enough to cut through without micing it. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a pickup. So anyway, I'm going to cut this thing down. You've heard that. I'm going to show you the pickup so you know I'm not lying. I mean, why would I be? You know, what's the point of that? I'm not getting paid for any of this. I'm just trying to pass along the information because I hate seeing people get ripped off. And I think this Fishman is basically a ripoff. You're going to have to run it through a PA, and you're going to have to do a lot of EQing, and probably, I don't know, probably just could handle it with an EQ and run it straight through the board to get a decent sound out of it. I don't think you're going to get a good sound out of it. This is a quality guitar amp. I don't think you're going to, if you're wanting to use it with a guitar amp and just take 1 amp to a gig, you're not going to be able to get a decent sound unless you got a really big amp, and it's going to be all distorted, I'm thinking. Probably sound like crap. Anyway, you can see the pickup there. Another downside with this thing is, you know, you got to use a battery on it. And I'm thinking with this single coil, you know, already I've eliminated that, having to use a battery on with the single coil on this other banjo that I rigged up, the cheapo. But if you use a humbucker, you're not going to get as much noise as, you're going to instantly notice I'm getting a lot more noise out of the single coil, which is standard. I mean, that's to be expected with a single coil pickup. And I haven't grounded this thing to the banjo at all. So I'm probably getting some ground noise, you know. And I just did this like 30 minutes ago. So I haven't really worked out the kinks about mounting it and grounding it, but that's not going to be a big issue. That's pretty simple to do. So anyway, I'm just going to show you the potential. You know, if you use a good humbucker, I'm pretty sure you're going to eliminate this extra noise, and it doesn't even have to be active, and you got a lot better output. Now you can see how I got this rigged up. So, you know, I mean, obviously I'm going to want to devise something that don't have this foam holding it. But actually this banjo, I was playing it. So anyway, here's a pickup. I'll show it to you after I play it because I've kind of got it in place. Just got one wire hooked straight to a cheap jack. You know, it's touching the head. So I'll probably try to come up with something where it's barely not touching the head. If you want the banjo to maintain its original tone and a bracket and not have to use this foam so nothing's actually touching the head, you're going to have to only move it just a little. I was worried about the single coil being close enough to the strings to pick them up. It's plenty close to have that much output. It has way more, even at a low volume. So anyway, I'm going to plug this in. We'll see. I'll give you a little demo of that. And you'll see. Maybe the video don't pick it up as good. I really hope it does, because I'm not running anything direct. This is just going through this guitar amp. So anyway, you can hear the hum. You know, I'm getting that right away. Like I said, it's not grounded, so that... Right there. I mean, okay, so let's do the demo like I did before. Here it is by itself, no volume at all. You hear how quiet the banjo is. The foam's muting the sound anyway. So you can hear that. Now I'm going to cut the volume up like I did the Fishman. I'm just going to start out on 3. You know, you can hear the hum. Yeah, it's a single coil. I mean, you know, it's not grounded. Okay, the Fishman, when I turned it up to 3, you couldn't even hear it at all. It made no difference. Already I'm starting to hear the tone come through the amp. Still nowhere near loud enough to play in a band. So if I cut it up, you know, like I said, you got the hum. Ignore that. Try a humbucker. That's what I'm going to do. That's on 5. You know, take a look at that. I got setting on 5 here. If the thing will focus. So on 5, I'm about what I was getting at, about 8 or 9 with that Fishman. Tune it, but I'm not going to get into all that. You can hear what's going on. I got a lot more volume already. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing up like I did that. Yeah, it's definitely because I haven't got it grounded, because when I touch the metal on this amp, it grounds. So I got a ground loop issue. If all this thing was grounded right, that would eliminate most of this hum. See, that's already beginning to hurt my ears. I know you're saying tune the damn thing. That pesky B string. Louder, and I'm not getting near the distortion that I got when I was getting the equal volume out of that Fishman. I'm going to cut it on up. It's starting to want feedback at 11, and I'm sitting right in front of it, and this is an open back banjo. That's starting to bother my ears that close, so I got it at 11. Anyway, I think you can see the potential of just taking a simple pickup and just putting it directly on the banjo head and allowing it to pick up the strings. I think you get more string definition out of it. It's not going to cost you nowhere near 250 bucks, you know. Don't waste your money on this Fishman, man. Just do it yourself. It's simple. Anybody could do this. Just a little basic common sense, and you can rig this thing up. I've got with this foam under here, it's muting the sound of the banjo. This is a cheaper banjo. It's nowhere near as loud as that other banjo. You know, there's a lot I can do to improve this, and this is just the first trial. So by using a bracket, getting the foam off of the banjo head, that's going to make it louder. Using the resonator banjo, everything, grounding the thing to get rid of the hum. You know, there's still a lot of room for improvement, but bare bones, it's better than the Fishman. And this is like 10 bucks, man, as opposed to 250 bucks. So anyway, that's my review on this thing. Don't waste your money, man. Make your own. It's stupid. I don't know why they don't sell these things. I need to sell them. I need to start selling pickups for banjos, because they got all this hype about these Fishmans, and it's a bunch of BS in my opinion. You heard the comparison, back to back, on the same exact amp at the same exact settings. So I think it speaks for itself. Anyway. All right, so this is what I come up with. I went up to Lowe's, got a couple of L brackets. I had to cut them off. I got this hot glue on the end of them because I was in kind of a rush, and I just took a pair of bolt cutters and cut the ends of it off, and I didn't want to file it. So I just put a little hot glue on the end of it. But you know, you can do a lot better job than that. And then I cut the bracket off and hot glued it on the pickup. I took the ground plate off of the pickup and grounded it to the bracket. So it's grounded to the bracket, it's grounded to the coordinator wires. That's pretty much it. Got a bolt, wing nut, lock washer. I put the jack right here. It worked out just right. I had to file a little bit of the plastic off of that insulator on that jack to get the resonator to fit on right. But it works fine. I've got it set off of the head about the thickness of a business card. And it seems to sound pretty good where it's at. If you move it up closer to the neck, you'll probably get a little more volume because it's getting a little closer to the strings. So the trick is keeping it off of the head. So when it touches the head, it vibrates and gets a distortion. But anyway, that's what I come up with. And it seems like it works way better than that Fishman. It don't seem like it does, period. It sounds twice as good, and it's way louder. And I've got about $15 in it.